our challenge: get all the way from Colchester in Essex down to the Costa Blanca in Spain via Plymouth, the Bay of Biscay and Santander. And we need to do it as quickly as we possibly can. The only problem? We've only got 4 nights to do it. On that first day, we drove down to Brown's Farm Caravan Park in Devon. £28 for the night, cute little site with all the usual services you'd expect. The reason we were there was actually just to have a quick stop to meet Sarah's sister and our brother-in-law for one final drink before we headed onto the ferry in Plymouth. And why only 4 nights? Why this big challenge? Well, the work that we had done in the UK on our motorhome took longer than we expected, and we got friends visiting us in Spain from the US, and they were flying in just a few days. We wanted to get back down into Spain to our house, get everything clean and tidy, ready to collect them from Alicante train station where they would be arriving from Barcelona. We were really against the clock. And I gotta say, we were more stressed than we wanted to be in what could have been a really slow and relaxing trip down from the UK into Spain. So first night over, a few more drinks than probably was a good idea. We left the campsite and had the first additional challenge, and that is the tight roads of Devon, where, you know, this is still a brand new motorhome to Sarah and I. We're treating it with kid gloves. Very nerve-wracking, just trying to make sure that there were no branches from trees that were going to scratch the motorhome, or vehicles coming the other way that are going to force us into a hedge or something like that. But we made progress and continued our journey down to Plymouth. Incidentally, when we booked this ferry, it was Brittany Ferries, and we considered taking Portsmouth to Bilbao. But when we looked at the Plymouth to Santander option, it was first of all a little bit cheaper, but secondly, although coming from the UK it just feels like a long way to head down to Plymouth, actually the crossing itself is shorter. So we're pleased that we made that decision, and if we are crossing from Spain to the UK or vice versa, again, we will take the option of Plymouth to Santander. If you're interested in the upgrades we had done to our motorhome, recommend looking back at our last video. But one of the concerns when you make these kind of upgrades of putting large batteries into a motorhome is payload. This is the amount that you are able to take in your motorhome before you become effectively illegal. Our motorhome has a limit of 3.5 tons that we can be at any time. That's the maximum load of that motorhome. I thought it'd be really useful if we could take it to a weigh station just to be sure that we were underweight or at least close to weight. So we got to this weigh station in Plymouth, and just to be clear here, we had a full tank of fuel. Sarah was on board, I was on board, food, drinks, 50% water. We were pretty much fully loaded, and we weighed in at exactly 3,200, so 3.2 tonne. That was a massive relief. We've still got plenty of payload to work with if we want to carry anything, or there are other upgrades that we think we need. The weigh station is only 10 to 15 minutes away from the ferry port, so very, very convenient. Check-in, simple, straightforward. We went through the vehicle check, parked up and waited for the ferry to leave. The time at the moment is 1:15 in the afternoon. I think the sailing is around 3 p.m. and we arrive. So it's one night on board. I'll show you on board. I'll show you what our cabin's like. If you're ever thinking of doing this similar kind of trip to start maybe your vacation down in Spain, or if you're a Spaniard wanting to have a vacation in the UK, you might want to do it the other way around. So we'll show you around on board. But on there, we're going to be on there for one evening or one night, hence why we've got a cabin. And I think it's around lunchtime tomorrow we land in Santander, Spain, which is on the north coast of Spain. Once we've done that, then we've got to get to the Costa Blanca, which I think, door to door, if you were to just do it in one journey, it would be probably 10 hours to get to our house down in Spain. But we're going to break it up, and as we're heading down there, we'll maybe stop one night, maybe two. And the nice thing there is we can try out all these upgrades that we had just yesterday in Essex. And Sarah's on board at the moment, just packing up everything we need for the crossing to Santander, which will include things like a bottle of wine. I've got 3 bottles of beer. I know, I don't learn. And we've got snacks. And I think I'll probably be editing a video while we're on there as well. If you look at a video about our crossing from France to the UK, I'll put a link up to it in the top corner so you know which one I'm talking about. In there we were concerned about a few things, which was, first of all, this is a Spanish van, so a brand new Spanish van. We've only owned it about a month, and I have a UK driving license, and there are some complications around that, which leads us to wonder whether we can ever take this back into the country. Now, I did ask in the security area whether they saw it as an issue if I came in with this again in future, and they just looked at me blankly like, why would that be an issue? You're a UK citizen, you got a UK driving license, you got a van that's insured that you own, and as some of the people have said to me in our comments, Neil, you do overthink things. So maybe I do, but the other thing that we haven't necessarily overthought is Sarah's status. So from a Schengen perspective, which is post-Brexit, as a UK citizen and resident, we can only spend 90 days in every 180 in Europe. From that perspective, Sarah has now overstayed. She's already overstayed. So it's going to be interesting when we get to Spain and go through the border there and passport checking, whether she will get stopped and they'll say, hang on, you've overstayed your welcome in Spain, get back on the next ferry back to the UK. Now, if you're new here, you won't know that I recently managed to get my Irish passport thanks to my lovely, sadly departed grandmother. So Sarah, as my wife, has the right to roam in Europe as long as she's with me or travelling to be with me. So everything I read online, we technically have the right to do that. However, I've been told in various forums that it's all down to the border force. So who you get on the day may just deny entry, even though we've got all the paperwork to state that Sarah has the right to roam with me. So there you go. In fact, I've just seen some border force people over here. I'm going to ask them about my status and just see what I can find out. So I've just been talking to them for ages. About 10 minutes, I think, we were discussing this. They kind of know about the technicalities around it, that technically there are challenges, but they said, no, you will never, ever have an issue. All they're interested in is where is it spending the majority of its time? Is it in Europe or the UK? So they said, if it's in the UK for more than 6 months in a year, then its home is the UK, and as such it should be registered here. And I said, we were really nervous when we got to, I think it was Portsmouth we got to before, because of it being a brand new van. They said, yeah, we could imagine you might have got pulled over because it's brand new, and what are you planning? But he said, even if they did that, all you would have to say is, we have a house in Spain, we bought this in Spain, and it's going to be here for a month. So a non-issue, which is great news for Sarah and I, because from our perspective, what we want to do is spend time in the UK. We want to come over and tour the UK and show you guys the UK, and for us to go to the Lake District and Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland. We want to be able to do all that. So anyway, while I've been doing all the important stuff, has Sarah actually achieved anything. Sarah, have you achieved anything?
I'm packed.
What you?
I'm packed, but you'll need to do your own.
Oh, really? You see that? You see the way this works? So while I'm making a video for our lovely viewers...
What you want to take on? I've packed my overnight bag.
Okay.
And then you need to pack. You need to either tell me what you need and I'll do it, or will you do it yourself?
Have you packed your wine?
No, just doing that now.
Just doing that
but
now.
I can't pack it now because...
Try and forget that.
I need to leave it in the fridge as long as we can.
Yeah, no, good point.
Yeah, so I'm just preparing the bag ready for the wine and beer to come out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I will let you off. So I better pack my stuff then. I was under the misapprehension that Sarah's doing that for me, but clearly not the case. And so to the ferry. Not sure how old this ferry is, but looks almost brand new. Very clean and tidy as we drove on, and very straightforward to get parked up. However, Sarah, being of a nervous disposition, did think there was a chance we were going to hit that max 3 metre barrier above our heads. We obviously cleared it with some distance to spare. It felt like we walked forever once we got on this boat because we just couldn't find our cabin. Now, something you won't see on camera is Sarah was getting pretty frustrated. So when we got to the room, I thought I'd do a little room tour. Sarah didn't have quite the same plan. That's why you're not seeing her on camera. That's why you can't hear the conversation that's ensuing as I commence this little tour of the cabin. We've got, can you turn the light on? There we go. So we've got a ladder, we've got this, we've got a bed. This bed's up here.
Yeah.
And there's a sofa. How do these work? Here we go. Oh, Sarah. This is, wow. What's it do? Oh my goodness. Wow. Sarah.
Well, I can't get up there.
You'll notice it's maximum 150 kilos. So I'm going to have to take this one. The shower room. So we have a toilet, a sink, and a shower. So as we bid farewell to Plymouth, the sun glistening off of the sea, it was an idyllic start. And this ship is really very different to any of the other ferries that we've taken either to or from Bilbao or even those that we've taken in France. You can see it's almost like a cruise ship in many respects, and it's got a little deck there for dogs as well, which is lovely, and it's even got a swimming pool. Didn't see anyone use it. I wish I'd had my swimming trunks with me because I would have been in there, but all in all, really nice place to be, a nice place to spend an evening on board. And after a little stroll around, we just retired to our cabin and wanted to just relax and be ready and able to do that long drive the following day. It's now 10 o'clock in the morning. How did you sleep, Sarah?
Slept very well, actually. Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, I did. What time did you wake up? We were on two totally different levels.
4:15, I think I woke up.
Oh, blimey.
But then I managed to get back to sleep till about 8:30.
We should be about 2 hours from Santander, but I think what we really need is a coffee.
With a coffee.
Or something to start
We
the
didn't have
day.
any dinner in the end last night, did we? 'Cause we started watching from YouTube, and then that was it.
That's it. We went down a YouTube hole. Do you do that? We tend to. I think pastry and a coffee. Sounds nice. So we've gone for a simple breakfast. A couple of rolls, butter and jam. I did it totally multilingually. I said dupan and butter and fraise jam, por favor. So I did it totally multilingually, but she understood the whole lot. So we got that and a coffee. All of this came to a tenner in pounds, 10 quid, just shy of six pence of that. It's funny, there were a couple in the queue behind us who were clearly just cruising for a fight. They joined the queue, and it's clear up there. All it is like, you know,
Breakfast, it's 10:15 in the morning.
yeah, but there's croissants, there's pain au chocolat, and there's nothing else there. And they joined the queue. I said, says they do sandwiches. Can't see any sandwiches. Says they do. It's advertised it. All right, well, let's join the queue. And then when they were just behind us, so when they were getting served, they said, "Well, have 2 ham and cheese, please." And that it was like they did it specifically just so they could make a point.
Yeah.
And the woman behind the counter was very, very good. She 11:30, which is quite comical because the boat lands at 12. So, yeah, people. So have you found this crossing? It's not been too bad, has it?
All right, actually. It's like a sort of constant shudder. This is the problem with ferries, and I find that compared to a cruise.
That's the engine, isn't it? Well, we probably run over a couple of dolphins on the way as well. You can feel, ba-dum, there goes a dolphin.
But I feel as though it's just like juddering when you're at night trying to get to sleep. That's what gives me my bit of seasickness. But it's all right. It's all right. It's been fun.
Yeah, good. So we're going to get to Spain. We have got that question around Sarah's status when we arrive. We've just gone through our spreadsheet. We keep a spreadsheet of all of our arrivals and departures, and on there,
all up to date.
yeah, and it's got a copy of our marriage certificate on there, and obviously I've got my Irish passport. So this whole 90 and 180 Schengen thing since Brexit should not be an issue to us, and we should be in Spain. We have no idea where we're stopping tonight.
Nope.
No idea whatsoever. We're hoping that we'll be off grid and that we can do something, a free stop or very, very cheap stop. Now we got the upgrades done to Motorhome. That's going to be a really good test of that. But we're going to finish our breakfast and we'll see you.
Coffee?
Yeah, we'll see you as we head to the port and passport control, where I'm guessing Sarah will be feeling
I'm
a little nervous.
Looking forward to it.
Oh yeah.
Because I just wondered, I mean, it's going to be the first time we've tried
coming
back
using
in,
the Irish
knowing
passport
that
over your 90
over.
days.
Yeah, so, we've got all the evidence and so I'm confident I'm not doing anything wrong.
No, you're not doing anything wrong.
So we just might get challenged a little bit, but that's fine.
Yeah, so it's more about their knowledge of the rules and the laws.
Yeah, and we've got it all printed. French, Spanish, German.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all printed, so we know we're right.
We should be fine. Disembarkation was very straightforward. We were pretty much at the front ready to get off of the boat there, and as we drove round we got to the dreaded passport control. We were there with total trepidation, and he didn't care. He stamped Sarah in, he didn't stamp my passport, and we were in Spain. I think something that works really well entering Europe and exiting Europe via Motorhome is you're doing so together. We've had instances when we've arrived into Spain via an airport where Sarah's been pushed through a different channel to me, and then that will make her conversation a lot more complicated when she's explaining that although she's UK citizen and that she's technically overstayed her 90 days, she's actually with me and I'll be elsewhere in the airport going through a totally different channel. So the fact that we're sat right next to each other, giving over an Irish passport and a UK passport at the same time, just makes the whole process a lot more straightforward and gives us both a lot more confidence entering and exiting Europe for the future. And so the long journey down from northern Spain commenced. Totally different landscape up here, a lot more greenery and lots of mountains, so lots of tunnels for us to drive through as well. But the one issue is we were driving without knowing where we were going. So the next thing we needed to do, find a place to pull in and find a place that we can stay for this first night in Spain. Right, so we've just pulled into truck stop. As you can see, a truck going past. We both needed a wee. We needed some fuel. We got excited about getting fuel because we passed a fuel station a way back and we saw it was €1.20 for diesel. So that's about £1 for diesel. So we pulled off here. There's substantially more, so we're going to ignore that. We've used the Park for Night app to just do a bit of a browse around of where we could stay. Sarah's got this bee in her bonnet about a place called
Palencia.
So,
and I just recognise it from other conversations we've had with some friends, and I don't know whether it was a negative or a positive conversation, but why not? Let's just go and try it.
So we've had a look at Park for Night. Palencia looks to be about an hour and a bit away. It's 2:50 in the afternoon now, so we'll get there about 4 p.m. If we stay there the night, we've still got 6 or 7 hours to get back to our area in Spain.
Yeah.
So whether that means we stay another night on the way down or whether we just try and do the whole lot in a day tomorrow, we'll find out.
I think we should do 2 nights.
That's what Sarah thinks. So we'll see. We're going to go to Palencia and you'll see it with us. We know nothing about it. We found basically a car park that we believe, if there's space, we can park overnight there for free in our motorhome. And this will be our first night of being totally off grid since having all of our upgrades done for the electrics and all that kind of stuff. So come with us. Santander to Palencia took us about 2.5 hours to get there. By this time we desperately needed fuel, so we pulled into a petrol station, got some fuel on board, got some AdBlue added, the first AdBlue that we put into our new motorhome in fact, and then spent some time cleaning the windscreen. The reason we did that is mainly for you, and you're going to see that these images will improve as you see more videos from us, because I know as you're looking at this there's kind of silver things that are on the dashboard that are in the way, but we found a perfect location for this camera, so anytime we're doing motorhome footage in future it's going to look crystal clear. And once we got all of that admin out of the way, we continued on to the 11th century town of Palencia. As you can see, a very beautiful town just as we arrived, and we made our way slowly through the back streets, across a bridge and to that car park. We didn't know what we would find, we just found this on Park for Night. Is it going to be the place that we can stop for the night? So we have parked up. We are in. Where are we, Sarah?
We are in Palencia.
Palencia. So we are in basically a car park. I think this is free. So this will be our first stop, not being on a campsite. It's quite exciting, really. First stop, I think first time ever like this. But I just want to see whether we have to pay. I can't see any reference to it, and I'm looking in the windows of the other motorhomes that are parked up around us, and there doesn't appear to be any charge. How cool is that? And it looks like a very short walk into a town. Now I don't know if I videoed any of that coming in, But if I did, you probably wouldn't have got the audio. The audio would have gone something like Sarah shouting at me going, "You can't go down here, oh my god, what are you doing?" So that was a stressful arrival, not because of the roads, just because Sarah is a little bit adverse to driving in towns. Hence one of the reasons why we wanted to buy a compact motorhome rather than something that takes up a lot of space. And I think this is easy to get around. Let's just see what we got here. So we got potable water here. That's good. So if we want to fill up, we can fill up here. We got about 50% water. That's really good. What a great facility. And what does this say to us up here? Service area reserved for motorhomes. Installation of tables, barbecues, awnings, tarpaulin forbidden. Car washing not allowed. And don't pour liquids down the grating. Absolutely. Great. Great. Happy. So we are parked up. I think we'll just sort the van out a little bit. There's a couple of bits and bobs we need to do. And then we'll head into Palencia. Or maybe get a bite to eat. So, just funny to think that the last place we were was Devon in the UK. And now we're in some town just north of Madrid, I would say. And after this long travel day, what we needed was a beer. And it didn't take us long to find just the right spot. Right, so Sarah, you did the ordering. I've got myself a Mahou.
Mahou?
That looks nice. My Mahou looks smaller than your gin and tonic. What is that you've got there?
It's Ginebra. It's actually a London gin.
London gin?
Yep.
And how do I know that it's Sarah, or how do you know it was Sarah that went in there ordering? We also got this, a big bowl of sweets.
I think there's some savouries underneath that.
Is there savouries as well?
Yeah.
That is unusual.
Corn bits.
I feel like I really need this beer though. And did you order that in English or in Spanish?
Spanish.
How'd it go?
Well, I did get given the choice of no alcohol gins and normal tonic, but I then got to I wanted normal gin and slimline tonic, zero tonic. So
cheers to that.
Got in the end.
We got a couple of drinks. Cheers.
I think I could have got you a better draft beer, but
that tastes good enough to me.
There was too many to choose from.
That's all right for me. We then grabbed a simple dinner and headed back to our motorhome for the evening. So it's the following morning. We're leaving this car park. Great thing though is this car park has got facilities to get water. Right, so hang on.
Do you want me to hold that?
No. Okay, that wasn't meant to happen. Hang on. Right, I'll hold that there. Oh, hang on. There we go. Every day's a school day, isn't it? So we're getting water. This is something we've had for ages. This isn't your standard hose. Oh. And so after making seamless use of the on-site facilities in that camping air, we made our way further south, around 4 hours to the small village of Villarreal de Fuentes, a great little stop. Welcome to another tiny little place in Spain. I'll put it on screen what it is because I've already forgotten the name of it. But this was our park up last night. We left that gorgeous town, I guess it was, north of Madrid yesterday, pulled into that winery that wasn't accepting visitors, and continued down through Madrid. Obviously the traffic got quite busy in Madrid, and then made our way probably another 150 miles south of Madrid. We used an app called Park for Night to find our park up for this evening, and although it may not look salubrious, it's not salubrious. There we go, that's us parked next to a Spanish motorhome, and next to that is a British motorhome. So I think it's probably a bit odd for them yesterday when we pulled up with our Spanish number plate on and got out and said afternoon. Anyway, we had a long chat with them yesterday. Lovely couple from Torquay that have been touring around Spain for over a month. Now, let me just tell you about where we are. So it is a little village, a very little village. We took a stroll into the village last night to just get some groceries. There's a tiny little shop up there. Not much to report, not much to say really. It's just a great stop because this has cost us the princely sum of nothing, absolutely nothing. And what we've got is a place to park here, very nice. A place to sit and eat here, all the pitches are the same. A place to do your washing up here. But also up here is power. Can you believe they are giving you free electric hookup in these days where electric is seemingly so expensive? They're giving us free electric hookup. Now, I have to say though, we've not used it because we've got the amazing upgrades on there. We simply just don't need to hook up for electric. But it's a nice little location. It is walking distance into the village, so that's nice. There's kind of sports facilities just around where we are here. A football pitch that I would say has seen better days. But there's also tennis and things. People turned up last night to play tennis, I think it was, or maybe pétanque. But there were cars turning up in the early evening. But by the time we went to bed, or long before we went to bed in fact, silence, absolute silence, apart from all these birds. You hear them. And there are also two owls having a twit-to-oo off in the night. One of them go, woo woo, and the other one has a slightly deeper voice. He said, woo woo, woo woo, all night, which only having a laugh, I guess. Seeing campers there going, hey, should we have a twit-to-oo off tonight? Why do you want to do that? Campers, innit? Put them off what they're doing. So we've got bins here as well. Really, really good park up. Really impressive. I'll just take you up to the edge of the village, just so you can see. This is obviously, I wouldn't call it industrial, but it's not exactly where people are living in this village. It's great how they do this kind of park up though, and the reason that villages do this in Spain, and it's a huge thing in France and certainly Germany as well. We'll learn more about that as we travel around. I know it's also a thing in Portugal, but the reason is because you're bringing people into town. So when we spoke to the British couple yesterday, they were telling us that just the other side of this little village there's a cheese factory that you can do a tour around. As you explained to me how far away it was, it seemed like a bit of a schlep to me, but anyway, they went there yesterday, and in town there's bars and a little shop. So I think it's incumbent upon people who use these kind of facilities to do two things. One, leave no trace. So you would have seen, as I was showing you around the site there, the bin was crammed full. That was nothing to do with us. We haven't used the bins on site. Leave no trace, I think, is the way to do things. And the second thing to do is use the local services, because they provided that to us for free. So why not go to the local shop and bought Sarah a bottle of Carver. She was thirsty, so she fancied that. And we bought ourselves a spot of dinner as well. We would have gone to the bar, but we were a little bit too early. Now we're retired, we're twirlies. You heard that saying, twirly? Look, there's the road into town. Not a lot goes on. Twirlies, normally retired people, or people are always too early for stuff. But we went to the bar, spoke to the guy that runs it. He said, 7 p.m. is what time it opens. We were there at 6, and it's a bit of a hill to get up there, so we didn't want to walk all the way down the hill in the heat to have to walk all the way back up the hill again. 32 degrees. One of the upgrades we had done was having a max fan fitted to the roof above the bed. I have to say, while we were in our motorhome last night, just chewing the fat and chatting with friends and things like that, it was hot in there, but not too hot. We were able to handle it. And in bed, I looked at the temperature overnight. Temperature reduced to 22 degrees right in the middle of the night. And, you know, we didn't get too hot in bed at all. So I'm actually pretty stoked about that. But one of the things that was most nerve-wracking for me in buying this motorhome, and for us to spend so much time in it, is obviously we're based in Spain. That's where the van is based anyway. So we are going to be in hot weather for sure. And I was concerned that 32 degrees might make the motorhome like an oven. No, not really. We coped last night. You know, we'll see when we get up to 35 degrees. A couple other things. Points of order, I guess, before we move off. And that is, we are being totally off grid here. And we have done for a couple of nights now. Well, yeah, a lot of nights. That means I've not had a shave. I want to have a shave, but we will be back in our house in Spain the day after tomorrow. Or will we be back there tomorrow? I think we're back there tomorrow. It's difficult to keep up. So I'm just holding off. Have a nice shave there, lovely, plentiful hot water. My hair's a bit of a mess, I'll be honest. I've not had a shower last night, because tonight we're staying on a campsite, a proper municipal campsite that we've paid money for. I think it's cost us, yeah, it has. It's cost us €25. And when we're there, we're going to have a shower. This guy's own shower block and everything. That really was a great little park up, and I still can't quite comprehend the fact that they were giving us free water and electric right by our vans on the pitch. But it was time to pack up and head on to our next stop. The final stop of this trip was a small town in the Costa Blanca called Bigastro, where we had a campsite booked. But before we got there, we needed to pull into a supermarket to get a few supplies. This was again about another 4 hours driving. So it's 34 degrees in here now. Sarah is over there in Carrefour supermarket, which we're probably about 10 minutes away from the campsite we're staying on tonight. I've got one fan on here doing its bit. I've got a fan in the back of the van doing its bit, and we've also got the max fan doing what it can do, and it is cooling down. I might look a bit red though looking at that screen. It's a warm one. It's going to be a good test. We'll show you the campsite when we get there. Going forward in our videos, if we ever stay at a campsite or a park up that we recommend, we're going to share all the details so you can have the same experience for yourself. This campsite we're not necessarily going to recommend. There was nothing wrong with it, it's just not for us. There were a couple of areas where we felt it could have been improved, such as the check-in process. We were stuck by this gate for a long time, trying to ring people to let us in. Finally, we did get to our pitch, and the whole site was fine. It was quite pleasurable to sit by a pool with a beer, and the beer was well priced, and it was great to have good, clean shower facilities. It's just not the kind of place that we would generally choose to stay in. You know, since we first decided to travel full-time well over 4 years ago, we've travelled in Airbnbs, hotels, we even own a house now in Spain and have travelled in a motorhome. In the next video, we're going to share exactly how we think travel should be done going forward. We'll see you there. Our dream is world travel. What's yours?